I'm Heather Westwell.
And I'm Fergus Woods Dunlop. We are New Old Friends Theatre Company. Welcome to Chapter 5 of Crimes Against Christmas.
Previously in the story, art investigator Peter Artridge has been sent to a remote island to solve the case of the Fabergé bauble, and has been getting to know all the other guests and suspects. Let's move on with the story. Chapter 5. Square Peg, Round Hole.
I returned to the great hall to find the candles had burned down on the verdant mantle, and all the people emptied out, all bar 2 members of the serving crew, who were laughing and pawing at each other. They were clearly besotted with one another, and lacked the subtlety required to hide it. Their lack of decorum extended to their uniforms. The chap was in suit jacket and trousers, which, while both light blue, came from different suits. His shirt was untucked at the back, and his hair was an unkempt thatch of brown curls. The girl was somewhat more presentable in a simple navy tea dress, and her face framed with neat chestnut ringlets. She was engaged in a Sisyphean task of tucking her hair behind her ears, only for it to dislodge itself with every giggle her scruffy soulmate drew from her. The boy was the first to spot me, and offered a wildly over-familiar greeting. "Oi, oi! All right, squire, who are you then?" "My name is Artridge." "Welcome, welcome. Me and the Duchess here are just making the most of the booze. Fancy joining us?" Did he just call her Duchess? Surely not. I know that some sections of elite English society can tend toward the shabbier side, but typically the outfits start their life at the high end of the price range and slowly deteriorate from there. This little urchin's sky blue ensemble can't have cost more than a pre-theatre special at a reasonable restaurant. And yet, there was maybe something about him. An air of complete comfort in himself and his surroundings as he handed me a full glass, which gave an indefinable sense of belonging in these grand surroundings. I couldn't believe I was going to ask what I was going to ask, but ask it I was going to. "You're not... I don't suppose you two are Lord and Lady de Planus, the daughter and son-in-law of the Duke of Liechtenstein, are you?" "What? Us? Don't be daft, friend." The little oik exploded in hysterics, liberally anointing the parquet floor with his drink. His partner stifled her amusement behind her glass, her ringlets once more freeing themselves. He managed to get his laughter under control. "We've got absolutely no idea what we're doing here, governor. Can only reckon that we got the invite in error. But the note said there would be good food, plenty of drink, and a free Christmas holiday, so we thought, share a granny with Rob's kids, we're on it." "I'm awfully sorry. I think you lost me there. Who's Rob? Are you saying we have some shared ancestry?" I was genuinely confused by the dishevelled little imp. "Shared ancestry? Dunno, mate. Didn't know my folks. Grew up in homes." Thankfully, at this point, his pretty partner translated.
He means Bob's your uncle, like the French say, et voilà, you know?
In order to deliver her explanation, the Duchess lowered her glass from in front of her mouth, before replacing it and using her other hand to once more wrangle her ringlets. "Yeah, that's what I said," the chap confirmed, but clearly she had more to say as the champagne portcullis again lowered from her lips.
He does that, saying things differently. He has a way with words.
"I'm a poet."
He knows he is, though. Not like from when time to time you say things that rhyme.
When it wasn't obscured by glassware, she had an attractive face, with a playful and engaging smile. By now I'd finished my latest drink and saw this as an invitation to a rhyming game. Like an accident, not something you meant.
Exactly.
She tapped her flute against her lips in thought.
A quirk of chance, not planned in advance.
When a sentence flows and words all go.
When you say your bit and the next bit fits.
That appeared to be the end of our rally. She gave her head a little shake which dislodged her hair once more, but her hand was poised ready to thwart its escape.
That sort of thing, you know?
"Yes, I see," I said, with an appreciative raise of my eyebrow. At this point, the poet obviously felt something was expected of him in response to our call and answer doggerel. He downed his drink, cleared his throat expansively, and adopted a wide-set stance as if the power of his imminent verse might knock a lesser man down. "But do you see? I'm a poet, me. My verse is so pure that it's like, you know, well, I don't do it all the time, obviously." I was disappointed. I had been hoping he'd unfurl something magical, but his lady friend didn't share my chagrin. Her eyes were fixed upon him, radiating pure admiration. It was clear her love had to do with more than his ability to toy with language. I helped myself to another glass. They'd all been poured, shame to waste them, and I tried to gloss over the faintly awkward silence which followed his failure. Around this time, my long journey started to catch up with me, and the effects of fatigue began to show. I can see how it might appear as though I was inebriated, but it was definitely just fatigue. Quite right. One mustn't rush these things in an off-the-cuff, spontaneous sort of way. Real art requires a bit more thought, I'd wager. Would love to hear one of your more practiced pieces at some point. My S's had taken on a slightly squashy quality, and some of my words were jumping about due to the fatigue. I gave my head a quick shake to rouse myself, but that's for another time. I believe we were in the middle of introducing ourselves to one another. You'd told me I was Artridge, but I'm not sure I told you who your name was. Despite my mangled mumbling, the young fellow grasped my meaning. Right, yeah, I'm Terry Dove, but everyone calls me Turtle. Turtle? What a fascinating name. Why ever would anyone call you that? Because this is Michelle, get it? Michelle! I'm Turtle and this is Michelle. Her name is Michelle Malawan, so I'm called Turtle. Oh, I see. Very good. Yes. Lovely to meet you, Turtle, Michelle. I hope you enjoy your stay. Perhaps I had gone a little hard at the welcome drinks. My eyelids were getting heavy and a quick nap before dinner seemed to me just the tonic. But my mind wasn't working fast enough to extricate myself before Michelle unloaded her worries.
Well, to be honest, Mr. Artridge, I don't really think I should be here. I wasn't actually invited.
That's not true, Duchess.
It is, Tell. It was only your name on the invite. No +1 or nothing either.
This salient point seemed to strike home with young Turtle. He paused to briefly consider it, before a toothy smile creased his face and he proudly declared, Yeah, but you can't invite Turtle and not have me bring Michelle now, can you? You're everything to me.
I know, honey, and you to me, but still.
I let the scene wash over me, hoping they might forget I was there as they swapped sweet nothings, but alas, it was not to be. You think it's all right, Shell being here, don't you, Artridge? Oh, I should imagine it's fine. It's a very big house and they've clearly catered for a crowd, I replied, and Turtle pounced upon it with a speed alien to his namesake. There you go. Artridge says it's fine and he looks like he knows about this sort of stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Artridge. Coming from an art dealer like you, who must mix with high society often, that means a lot.
Even tired as I was, Michelle's knowledge of my work rang out to me as a potential clue. How do you know I'm an art dealer?
I overheard you talking to the American, Mr. Drummer, earlier. I wasn't eavesdropping, I just stood nearby.
Oh, I see. I was tired and getting suspicious for no reason. I must get that nap in. I'm afraid you'll have to excuse me. I think I'll just grab 40 winks before dinner. Long journey here and all that. Oh, right, yeah. Long journey. Course. Turtle chortled and nudged me in the ribs with his elbow. You go sleep it off, Mr. Artridge. We'll see you at dinner. We're going to have another little drink, aren't we, Duchess? He shot me a look. Everything's free, right, Artridge? It's customary for the hosts to provide everything, yes. Except perhaps a small token gift. Right. A small token gift. Like what? Well, it can vary. Sometimes as simple as a bunch of flowers or a bottle of wine. Is it? Turtle drummed his fingers on the table and scanned the room. Tell you what, Shell, I reckon I spotted the kitchen on the way here. Why don't you take that bunch of flowers from the middle of the table and I'll nip in the kitchen and grab a couple of unopened bottles. We can have one for our room and the other we'll use as our token gift along with the flowers. Perfect.
I'm not sure, Tell.
It's fine. Artridge just said everything is free, didn't you, mate? Well, I'm not sure that's quite what I meant, but yes. There you go. Bosh. We're doing it, Michelle. Now, whip them flowers out and dry them off on the curtains. See you in a bit, Mr. Artridge. Enjoy your nap. Well, if I was surprised that Father Vickers was here, I was absolutely flabbergasted that the shady party planner had seen fit to bring young Terry Dove along. Granted, he had a flexible understanding of personal property, and if the opportunity presented itself, I could well imagine him nabbing anything valuable that might pass before him. But I couldn't very well see him planning the theft of the Fabergé bauble. He'd be in the same position I'd pegged for the household staff. What contacts could he possibly have who would fence the thing for him? I was putting my first impressions of Turtle and Michelle into my notebook as I left the great hall, when I collided with an elderly man wearing one of those heavy smoking jackets that make a chap look as if he's been swaddled in their great-grandmother's gaudiest curtains. This old boy had taken the look one step further by pairing the jacket with trousers and a hat made from similarly patterned materials. The hat was a sort of soft fez affair with a long golden tassel streaming from its centre, and all in all it gave the impression the wearer had been chased naked through a haberdasher's and randomly grabbed at any nearby fabrics with which to wrap himself in.
"What the bloody hell?"
exclaimed the party-coloured pensioner, and not without good reason. The shock of the collision had at least cleared my mind somewhat and allowed me to speak more clearly. "I'm awfully sorry, sir. Dashed irresponsible of me not looking where I was going."
"You should bloody look where you're going."
"Yes, absolutely, quite right. Could not agree more, old chap. 1,000 apologies once again."
"Who the bloody hell are you, anyway? What are you doing here?"
The decrepit old thing was waving his arms about with as much vim as he could muster. I was a bit concerned I may have knocked a screw a bit loose. He seemed to be a little confused. "The name's Artridge. I'm not normally so clumsy as all that. I'm here for the party. To whom do I have the honour of addressing?"
"Rixtonshan?"
"Yes, that's correct. We are on Rixtonshan." My fears appeared to be confirmed. He was clearly not quite the full ticket. I adopted that particular tone we English reserve for conversing with our elders and foreigners alike, slow and deliberate with plenty of lip work. "Are you all right? Shall I fetch you some assistance?"
"I am Rixtonshan."
Now it was my turn to suffer some confusion. "You're Rixtonshan. I thought the island was called Rixtonshan. That is quite a coincidence, sir."
"No, you blathering ninny. I am the Duke of Rixtonshan. You are in my home."
"Oh, I see. Awfully sorry again, sir."
"I am a duke. You will address me as your grace, not bloody sir, if you please."
"Yes, of course, your grace, forgive me. Thank you for inviting me into your home."
"I didn't bloody invite you. I'm the bloody Duke of Rixtonshan. This is my house, my island, my bloody Christmas, and I cannot for the life of me understand why there are so many idiotic strangers tramping their stupidity through my Christmas, yourself bloody included."
The Duke marked the end of this tirade with a harumph. I swear it. Now, I know normally harumph is the sort of word one reads in some light bit of fiction and may never actually hear out loud, but I promise you that was the exact noise the old codger made. "Harumph," he went, and folded both arms tightly across his chest. "Well, I can assure you we were invited, your grace. If not by you, then I imagine by Lord de Planus." The mention of his son-in-law's name inspired another excellent example of the lesser-heard harumph, this time with added mockery in the delivery.
"It's just de Planus. He's not a real lord. Oh, yes, he fabricated some title to pretty himself with, but Lord, my foot. Lords have land, don't they? I knew he'd been talked into having this bloody party, but what I can't understand is why you all bloody came. He's an idiot."
"Well, not wanting to speak for others, your grace, but I'm here because of my passion for art. I have heard that you have an extensive collection. Indeed, I've already seen some interesting pieces, and word is there might be some items in your private collection that are truly remarkable." Old Rixtonshan's face set hard, and he fixed me with a stare, his slate-grey eyes boring out from under his wild white eyebrows.
"The collection? What have you heard? From who? It's private."
"Apologies, your grace, I didn't wish to overstep."
"Who told you about these pieces? Were they Russian? Italian?"
"I think they were German, actually."
"I'll bet it was the same moronic Teutonic meddler that convinced my daughter and her cretinous husband to host this bloody party. People should leave well enough alone. What did he tell you?"
"Nothing more than I've shared, your grace. Simply that you were in possession of a fabulous art collection, one that I'd very much like to see, and perhaps I might be able to assist you with any new acquisitions." I produced my counterfeit card and handed it over. As I did so, the door at the other end of the hall opened and an extravagantly dressed couple entered, waving to us.
"Well, you'll not be getting a tour from me,"
the Duke hissed through his teeth, returning the wave.
"You'll have to ask the imbecile."
The imbecile, Your Grace?
That's my darling daughter, and my simpering nitwit of a son-in-law.
Aha. So this was Lord and Lady de Planus. I was quite looking forward to meeting them and finding out more about this couple who'd been talked into hosting such a party of misfits, and when it came to candid conversations, they certainly did not disappoint. My first impressions of Lady de Planus and her husband were marked in their differences. She poured down the length of the room, a curve-hugging sequined emerald dress strafing the hall with pinpricks of reflected light and a gossamer-thin scarf floating elegantly behind her as if she were Ophelia in the water. She moved in such a way that I was always aware of her flowing ever forward, whilst at the same time not being entirely certain I'd actually seen her move. Whereas her portly husband walked awkwardly with his head down as though checking the placement of his feet. Every few steps he kept stopping to look up in wonderment, as if he'd totally forgotten where he was going or why he was going there. Then, with a little nod and a smile, he'd rock back on his heels and set off again, only to repeat the process. His outfit was no less glamorous than his wife's, a sharply cut dark suit with a trim the exact shade of her dress, tasteful emerald cufflinks and a matching tie-pin. They should have paired the couple perfectly, but in practice they only served to heighten their differences. Where she wore her outfit with the confidence and poise of a jungle cat sunning itself after a successful hunt, he looked like the bewildered infant of the slain prey, stumbling lost about the undergrowth. She slowed not a step as she neared me, and continued right on walking until her hand was upon my chest and her nose inches from my own.
Now who is this fine specimen you're hogging to yourself, Daddy dearest?
She was not an unattractive woman. She had high cheekbones and stylishly coiffured hair, but her eyes were glazed, her cheeks rouged with something other than blusher, and I could smell the alcohol on her breath. However, as a resident of a well-glazed house on that particular street myself, I knew better than to throw stones. "You must be Lady de Planus. I'm Peter Artridge. Thank you for including me in this get-together. A pleasure to meet you." She curled her fingers around my lapel and slowly drew her hand down the length of it, pulling me ever closer towards her, and said in a barely audible whisper,
The pleasure's all mine, but I always like to give pleasure back when I can.
What was that, Lucy? What did she say, Artridge?
demanded Richenshan. I'd no idea how I could possibly relay this come-on from a woman I'd just met to her father, so it was something of a relief when Lord de Planus finally arrived at our end of the room.
That'll do it for Chapter 5. Please do like, rate and subscribe to this and let us know on social media what you think so far. We're at New Old Friends on Twitter and Instagram and New Old Friends Theatre on Facebook.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.